open to meeting people like that. Like it has to be something on the other end as well, because it's hard for us to go out of our way to sort of
Mm.
try to, it's like almost like, hammering a nail into a wall that just, won't go in. It's just, it's like you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying, but if someone on the other end is not going to be receptive to certain things. So I guess my thing is it's hard as a Muslim to sit here and say there's an easy way to do that, or that I can sit here and say that there's an easy way for you to differentiate between the terrorists and that are tan skin and those that say they're normal and still practice, Islam in a normal way, like myself. Um, but like I said, I mean, there's that same idea in different, religions. That's why it's hard. We shouldn't be like saying terrorism has anything to do with religion, because at the end of the day, terrorism, like you said, it's just this idea of people trying to create terror, people trying to, be powerful enough to put this idea into a group of people so they feel like they have this like power over them. Same thing with ISIS. I mean, honestly, I think there was something else about them that happened where they stopped someone and they asked them to recite verses from the Quran, and they ended up reciting verses from the Bible, and they said, um, or something of the other that was not from the Quran, and they were like, "Oh, okay, that's fine," and like walked away. They themselves didn't have knowledge about their own religion. Like that, to you should say, that should be that example that they're not real Muslims. They're obviously trying to. Their main goal is power, to put fear in people. And so there's nothing to do with Islam at the end of the day. It has to do with their own greed to be these powerful people that control, everyone else
So is that the
under the
underlying
name of
problem?
Islam.
Is it that, in other words, if people are this desperate to seek power,
Mm-hmm.
then they're somehow disenfranchised. They're somehow not given power, right? Is that the problem? Is it inequality in the world that's allowing people to become this radicalized? Is poverty the evil that we need to fight? I think that there's a lesson for Americans to be taken from the fact that we're hated by people who have very little, because we're decadent, we're wasteful, we don't appreciate what we have. We scoff at our iPhones because they're not loading fast enough or whatever it is. Like, I can understand how someone from another country, culture, or who has less than we do would look at us and think that we were evil. I can understand how you could create a rallying cry against that because you feel so impoverished and so powerless to change anything. I think that people within our country I think you're 100% right when you said power. I think that when they put a gun into their hands, they
Mm-hmm.
have power. When a person with a gun comes into a room, you have to listen to what they have to say.
Right.
It no longer becomes a choice about, well, I don't like you, so I don't care about you. You're insignificant. Put a gun in somebody's hand and they become significant.
Yeah.
And they get national attention. And this is what people, I can relate to the craving for feeling heard. I think that's a human need. Is that what we need to address? What is, to me, we could talk about making fewer guns available. We could talk about, but then somebody's just going to pick up a sword.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, if the underlying problem isn't addressed, then it's going to continue in some form.
That's why I feel like the most important part is to one focus on those people that are open to understanding other faiths, other ideas, protecting one another in this craziness that's happening in the world right now, and focusing on that, trying to be powerful in that in itself, trying to spread that as far as we can. And the other thing I think is to figure out how to protect those people who are, good people who are not trying to provide terror to other people. Finding ways to protect us in certain ways, whether that's through laws, whether that's through safety, precautions and things like that. Because at the end of the day, honestly, I can say to you too, I fear as well that I fear two things. I don't know what Muslim is a good Muslim from, just as much as you. I wouldn't know either, right? Like if I make a friend at a university and they're Pakistani Muslim, to me culturally, I feel like I relate to them, but I have no, like, if they maybe come from Pakistan and whatever, maybe something they've been brainwashed or they come from a different area of the world, I have no idea to know that until, something maybe happens, like what happens with terrorism. So I as well am scared of that. And I'm also scared about, people generalizing me into this category of terrorist because of my skin tone and, I don't know, doing some type of hateful crime towards me or targeting me because I fall under that umbrella. And so, I think that the best thing to do as Americans, as being we are all Americans, that live here for the most part, that go to university, that work together. I mean, the best thing we can do, I think, is band together. One, to understand, each other's views, what's going on in this world, have conversations and dialogue that like we're having right now that I think are very important for people to listen to. And then also to make sure that we're keeping each other safe as much as possible. So, if you are on the train, would you stand up for someone who is tan colored, whether they're Muslim or not, just tan colored and being, attacked in a manner that that is actually pretty alarming, and they don't deserve it. Let's say they're just normal, because this happened to one of my friends, and I texted you about this. Now, would you stand up for them and say, hey, 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 like, hold on, we don't know if this person is a terrorist or not. Let's all calm down. Or would you sit there silent?